Alex Eala just forced Indian Wells to rewrite its entire crowd management plan, and the ticket market hasn't recovered since. The BNP Paribas Open at Indian Wells didn't add Alex Eala to the draw. Alex Eala added Indian Wells to the tour stop. The world now watches.
Court in Indian Wells. Look at this. I mean, this was in Australia. Court 6 literally had a line. I know I'm exaggerating, but it went for miles at the Aussie. It was wild scenes there. Allie, can you remember a women's star who gets this type of support wherever she goes?
Yeah, well, Taylor Swift. I mean,
Yeah.
On March 4th, 2026, tournament organizers at Indian Wells went public with something no WTA 1000 event had ever announced before. For a player ranked 31st in the world, the Eala Effect was officially overrunning their practice courts. Fans weren't waiting for match day. Filipino communities from across California, the state with the largest Filipino population in the United States, estimated at nearly 2 million people, were already crowding training sessions before a single ball had been struck in competition. Not finals, not semifinals, practice sessions. And somewhere between those packed courts and the secondary ticket market reports being filed by analysts like Pro Tennis Stories 360, who flagged a massive demand surge blowing past anything expected for early round matches, one question became impossible to ignore. How did one player from the Philippines turn the WTA's biggest North American swing into a sold-out event before the bracket even opened? The answer starts on March 26, 2025. Alex Eala walked onto the court at the 2025 Miami Open as a wild card, ranked world number 140. Her opponent, world number 2, Iga Swiatek, the most dominant player in women's tennis at the time. What followed wasn't an upset in the traditional sense. It was a systematic dismantling. Eala's left-handed serve, clocking around 90 miles per hour on first attempts and 75 on second, created angles that pushed Swiatek into 32 unforced errors. Eala made just 12. When it came to break points, she converted 8 out of 10. That is 80%. The final score read 6-2, 7-5. When the prize money was tallied, $332,160 from that single tournament alone, it nearly doubled everything she had earned across her entire career up to that point. Her ranking jumped 65 spots in a single week, vaulting from 140 to 75. Grand Slam main draw entry unlocked. Sponsor conversations accelerated. And the commercial infrastructure of the WTA began quietly recalculating.
I'd have to say maybe a little bit of Sonia Mirza. Back in her heyday, obviously the Indian fans took to her and they followed her all around the globe. Obviously not to this extent. And I think the ceiling that Alex Eala has is obviously that much higher. And I'm going to bring in a little boxing here because my dad wanted me to be a boxer, but I chose tennis. But Manny Pacquiao.
Good call.
Manny Pacquiao. We saw him when he, was at the top of his game. And alongside Roger Federer, he actually had more prize money. So I think that if Eala, can keep doing well with her tennis, who knows? The sky's the limit on the court, off the court. I mean, she could be rolling in it, if you will.
But that one alone doesn't explain what happened to ticket markets in Dubai nearly a year later. To understand that, you have to understand what analysts now call the portable home court advantage. Most elite athletes have one home city, one home crowd. Eala has approximately 1 million overseas Filipino workers in Dubai, nearly 2 million Filipinos in California. She carries the equivalent of a home crowd to every city with a major Filipino diaspora. And in the WTA's 2026 Middle East and North American swings, that happens to be almost every single stop on the schedule. At the 2026 Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships, the effect became measurable in hard currency. Official tickets started at 65 dirhams, roughly $17.70. That was the entry point. Then on February 17th, Eala defeated world number 8 and reigning Dubai champion Jasmine Paolini 6-1, 7-6, coming back from a 5-6 deficit in the second set tiebreak. Multiple players and analysts described the atmosphere inside that stadium as unlike anything previously witnessed at a WTA 1000 event. The secondary market responded immediately. Reports of significant resale premiums on Eala's quarterfinal sessions began surfacing fast. That 65 dirham face value had become, for a substantial portion of that market, a starting point, not a ceiling. And that is precisely when the players themselves began confirming what the data was already showing.
She's got a smile that lights up a room too, and I remember last year when she beat Iga Swiatek, and she kind of did it with a lot of grace and humility, and it was really, for me, it was terrific to see her take that match and watch her play after that and watch her try to continue to progress, because I like her game. Obviously, she wants to get better than where she is now, the 32 in the world, but she's got a lot of good hand-eye coordination and ability to take the ball early and redirect. But the fan stuff is always fun for me, because whenever you see players from smaller countries, the fans are so passionate when they get up to the top.
It's interesting, Ali mentioned Sania Mirza. She has nearly 13 million followers on Instagram. That's 5 million more than Carlos Alcaraz, and nearly as many as Alcaraz and Sabalenka combined. So that's how big Sania Mirza was, and will be. But Eala going to be seeded for the first time at a 1,000 to find out who she will play in the second round.
World number 4 Coco Gauff, who defeated Eala 6-0, 6-2 in that Dubai quarterfinal, publicly thanked her for bringing an entirely new demographic to the sport. Think about that for a moment. A top 5 player is openly acknowledging that the person she just defeated 6-love in the opening set is doing something to the WTA's commercial reach that Gauff's own results hadn't accomplished. Jessica Pegula went further, commenting specifically on Eala's ability to pack stadiums to a level that demands attention. These are not compliments exchanged between friends. These are market assessments delivered in post-match press conferences by the sport's own elite. The WTA's institutional response was equally direct. The organization announced the inaugural Philippine Women's Open 125 event for January 2026. The Philippines had never hosted a WTA event in its entire history. The Eala Effect produced one within a single calendar year of the Miami upset. Now here is what the numbers confirm, and what mainstream coverage keeps consistently missing. In 2025, Eala was the most searched Philippine female personality in Google's Year in Search. She ranked 4th among all sports figures searched across the Philippines, trailing only major international basketball and boxing matchups. A pre-tournament press conference for the 2026 Australian Open pulled over 170,000 views on YouTube. Highlight reels titled simply Alexandra Eala Greatness reached 254,000 views. Tiebreak highlights from the 2025 US Open hit 1.2 million. By early 2026, Eala's Instagram had grown to approximately 850,000 followers, making her one of the most followed players on the entire WTA Tour outside the top 10, despite holding a ranking that until February 23, 2026 had never once cracked the top 30. On that day, Eala reached world number 31, the highest-ranked Filipino player in WTA history. But the single most revealing data point in this entire story isn't a ticket price or a viewership number. In September 2025, a report went viral claiming that Wilson Sporting Goods had offered Eala a $45 million endorsement deal, which she had reportedly accepted. Fact-checking agencies investigated. There was no deal, and no statement from Wilson. No statement from Eala's team. The story was completely fabricated. And it spread anyway. It spread because the market's perception of what her endorsement value should be had already outrun what the actual signed contracts reflected. Her verified sponsorships are real and growing, Nike, for over 5 years, with Eala's portrait now displayed at Nike World Headquarters in Oregon alongside the brand's all-time icons. Globe Telecom, which signed her as an ambassador when she was just 8 years old. Babolat, Bank of the Philippine Islands. Locally Juice. That is a legitimate and expanding portfolio. But the $45 million hoax tells you something the verified data alone cannot. The gap between Eala's actual current deals and what a massive portion of the global audience believes her commercial ceiling to be is wide enough that a completely fabricated transaction felt entirely credible to millions of people. That is not a misinformation problem. That is a valuation signal. As of March 3, 2026, Eala received a first-round bye at Indian Wells as the 31st seed. With 2026 prize earnings already sitting at $291,992, analysts project she is on pace for a career-best financial year, potentially clearing $1 million in prize money if she maintains a top 35 ranking through the Grand Slam season. Broadcast rights analysts are already predicting a full revaluation of WTA broadcast rights in the Philippines and the Middle East, driven specifically by the viewership numbers attached to her matches. The secondary market controversy, fans encountering resale prices that have completely detached from official face values, has become the defining tension at every tournament she enters. Somewhere inside that Indian Wells bracket, a potential third-round rematch with Coco Gauff is already being circled by the same analysts who tracked the Dubai ticket surge. So here's the question that nobody in professional tennis has yet been able to answer. If the Eala effect keeps pushing secondary markets, driving broadcast revaluations, and forcing institutional WTA responses at this pace, what happens the day Alex Eala reaches a Grand Slam final?